There was one other thing, which was like a small drama bomb, which was, as you saw, that guy, the Korean guy, Rigby, who was at one point in time coach of EG, did a few sort of like things. I think he was on a stream or some sort of like a social media or something. It was all translated onto Reddit. And aside from, he did attack LS, so we'll get to that in a second. But before that, he actually dropped a couple of little juicy details. So these will both cause you pain in different ways, Monty. So it's going to be basically like, this is like your moment with like, I've got the gom bar at your throat, Monty. You must just withstand the pain of what I'm about to tell you. While
I'm putting my head in the box.
Yeah, you will be suffering. So are you ready? Are you ready for your... I'm going to actually hurt you right now. Are you ready?
Why is this so like this?
This is so good. He actually says that from scrims, everyone thought KT was the best LCK team. And I think he means going into Worlds, mate. They were scrim gods! Because I've also heard, by the way, I've also heard supposedly like that's another thing about, I think it's like Lehens and maybe Beryl. So I think they're supposed to be like scrim gods too or something, mate. Like that's another reason everyone like thinks to the shit where, oh mate, the idea that in scrims they actually should have been the best. They actually, essentially, Monty, here's the real suffering. Essentially, you should have been right. You should not. It should actually have been your day where you said the whole time they were good. And everyone's like, oh, BDD, who gives a fuck for like years old takes. But then I know this. That is the worst thing about Worlds. Is you'll do something like watch Shady G while the fan doesn't go, they're probably overrated. And then when they lose, he goes, see? And you're like, that's not the fucking point. That's the worst feeling, is the gaslighting. It's the gaslighting that it's not even the opinions. It's when you know they're just gaslighting your whole reality. And then here's another one that's painful in a different way. I actually knew this, sadly. You know, right now, everyone memes on MNS, right? And they just go, he should never have been picked up. He's trash. Oh, guys, what you don't know is, I mean, this isn't from this, but I'll mention it in a second. In Europe, there was a bunch of LEC teams, by the way, wanted MNS. Some of them big names, by the way, if you know who they got instead, they got much better players. But the reason why, as confirmed by the Rigby guy here, is the MNS guy in scrim supposedly is fucking unbelievable if people don't know. Like, he says he was far and away the best in these like world scrims or whatever. Like, I've heard in scrims, by the way, this guy was like, it was almost like playing like solo queue. He just monsters the whole game and wrecks everyone. His mechanics are impossible. So his problem really was something to do with like attitude or mentality towards competing. So the sad thing is, like, as I'd heard from some of the people, apparently he was really talented, mate. Apparently he was like an actual like phenom.
Well, I think that was true of KT as well, because the way they played, and even in LCK playoffs, a lot of these players, I think, just had crazy nerves when they got into these situations. Yeah. Honestly, I hate to do my boy Keen like this, but that's kind of been the story of his career, is that when it matters, he doesn't really show up, guys. Like he's on a monster player, now,
so nothing could go wrong, right? Nothing could go wrong with a Korean super team. So bloody hell! I tell you what, it better work this time. I'll give him that. It better work. And then the other angle was, because this is obviously we know LS, right? The other angle was Rigby took, I would say, a bunch of shots at LS that I'll just say. I think it triggered me more than LS, because essentially, are you ready? I'll give you like a little taste. He goes, LS has some good ideas regarding champ picks and items. We actually do take note and use what we think is good and throw out what we think is bad. And then he says, basically, he emphasizes certain things I think aren't impactful in terms of winning point or losing point of the game. And he basically makes the point that he thinks LS focuses too much on things where if you like play perfectly, or, you know, if you're a robot, it basically goes with the original LS critiques from literally like 2018, but he's bringing them out as though they're fresh and insightful in 2024. And the reason it irritates me is this, Monty. This is how you know he actually hasn't watched LS's content, because there might have been a grain of truth to that back in 2018. But even then, if you ever listen to me, I was one of the first people to tell LS, you're acting like the players are robots. It wasn't on this angle. I was never saying they're robots in the sense of like when LS says if you draft this comp it can scale and then you win the game without play. No, I just meant things like if he would ask a question like, why can't a top player play an obscure pick they haven't tried? Then I would be like, well, the thing is, LS, like, you know, they're just only human, aren't they? So if they've only played it 3 times, even if you're right, they're not going to try it. I was meaning it more like that, right? Here's what's weird is anyone who does this take where they go, LS just thinks everyone's a robot who should just perfectly outplay the opponent and win every winning matchup. You haven't watched a lick of LS's content. literally, that's the opposite of his philosophy. His whole philosophy, because he comes from coaching lower tier players, is these are the easy loopholes in the game. This is how, if you draft this scaling draft matchup, you don't have to be better than him in lane. You can be slightly behind, but don't get killed or get to this item, and then you'll be ahead. Essentially, he's saying, instead of doing, it's the opposite. Instead of being like an LEC coach who drafts like a 50-50 matchup, he believes his player wins 51% of the time. LS is saying, why don't I give my guy a matchup where if he plays it easily through lane, he wins 75% of the time without clicking buttons? He's actually trying to make the game easy. And then the joke is, he's actually entirely aware people are human. That's why he doesn't tell you to take like some super meta, like Renekton into Aatrox or something ridiculous. Like, he doesn't tell you to do that. Like, what's mad is these people have took like a mad straw man of LS and then destroyed it Wicker Man style, and they're like, that's him taken care of. It's like, did you even listen to any of his points, mate? You've characterized him completely wrong, mate. What have you done?
Yeah, and also I think the other,
you could definitely tell, but that's also kind of his shit. He's a specialist. He's a specialist, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other thing that people criticize about LS is his focus on itemization. Not that he is wrong about itemization, because frequently he's right.
Sure.
It's that he found a niche with his itemization takes that is very entertaining. And I think people, especially people who are on pro teams or professional analysts, sometimes they get tripped up on what LS does for entertainment as opposed to what LS thinks. So, for example, his whole, like, Leandri's takes and his Sinners takes and everything like that, that was for comedy. And the reason why he emphasized these things, I think, was two reasons. One of them was it was just fucking entertaining. It was fun. And he got a good response from his audience, and everybody really liked that. And like the whole Leandri's thing was hilarious, and was kind
people thought it was hyperbolic. It was surely you saw he extended the premise, guys. He was obviously being a bit bombastic with it, wasn't he?
And I think if you asked him, like, he's not going to say like, I think in 99% of cases, he's not going to be like, yeah, this game was 100% lost because he bought this item. He's talking about optimization and getting getting better edges on your opponent. And he's right about that a lot of time. And the reason why he did it over the top was because it's funny, right? And because it became a long running conversation in the community, and he controlled the narrative of a lot of the professional scene with this, and it was entertaining and people like to follow along with it. The second reason is because, look, for 99% of you, his actual takes are going to not affect your gameplay whatsoever. By talking about itemization, he is able to help literally any player of any skill level improve at the game.
Yes.
It doesn't require mechanics. It does, it requires a small amount of critical thinking, but really he's done the math for you already. So he's just saying, here's how you can just improve like this, level up your game like that.
Yep.
And people like to follow him because it genuinely, I think, improved their gameplay. And it's an easy way to improve your gameplay. Like, you know how you don't have to do a VOD review of your own gameplay this way? You just keep playing the game, build a different item next time. Right.
And Monty, even when he suggests like really crazy picks, if you ever listen to how he does it, he doesn't say like you have to be like basically a perfect one trick on this who could do every combo. Like, no, what he'll do is he'll pick something that he thinks is like nobody plays it in your lane. And so the joke is you only need minimal like acclimatization, because what's going to fuck the enemy up, as anyone who's ever played like bronze and played against support brand is, if you don't know what it does in your, then you do like the first 5 games are just free wins. Like, that's the other point he's making. Like, essentially, he's telling you, like, there's a pile of money on the floor there. Do you want to pick it up? Like, and you're going, well, that's not a sound financial strategy. And how could the world run on the economy? No, just pick up that money over there. Just pick up that thing there. And you're going, he's imagining you don't need money and everyone's born rich. Like, just listen to what he says, guys. Because here's the thing. I also just thought to myself, since Rigby, in doing so, also was addressing ideas, like he's also doing that thing, which is the classic set of people, by the way, who always came at LS, was obviously always analysts and coaches, because one, they're in his domain, they think, so they think it's just some outsider coming in. And then also he does, as examples, use specific players, so they always feel attacked. And I think some of them, quite frankly, are jealous that he sort of has the public ear and that the public doesn't listen to them and their tweets. So good old Rigby, when he was coming at him, first thing I was thinking the whole time is like, you're giving lessons on coaching, Rigby. Rigby, evil geniuses, Rigby. Left towards the end of 2022, Rigby. what was going on in 2022, Rigby? If we're talking about tell you what, Rigby, if we're talking about humans playing League of Legends, not robots, let's talk about people, because people make mistakes, don't they? People break down, don't they, Rigby? First thing I thought, mate, personally, because I'm a boomer. Two, like you, I have some fucked up, perverse, fucking tilt towards the theatrical. The first thing I did when Rigby fucked is, I thought, what about that song Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles? So here will be my rendition. Ah, look at the LS haters. Ah, look at the LS haters. I don't even know the Beatles. Fuck it. Silly old Rigby picks up the tired, played out narratives that Reddit has spammed. Lives in a dream, waits on Twitter, wearing the face that pretends his coaching in EG never happened. What about Danny? There you go. Clip that. Put a free, copyright-free cover version of the music behind it. And there's a little clip in it. Rigby. There you go, Rigby. We're up, mate. We all live in a yellow submarine now, motherfucker. Yeah, exactly.
I think Rigby was actually I think his drafts were very good on AG.
As far as I can see, it was good. Listen, like Les Monty, some of that was for sure. Believe it or not, I was trying to be entertaining in some ways. My extended hyperbolic premise. Exactly.
Too funny. Too funny. Yeah, so...
and quiz it aside, Rigby, you do know the actual dream, if you're LS, is someone like you, a famous person, calls you out, because that then just leads to response videos. You've actually just started his content cycle, you idiot. If you're LS, the video, everyone's waiting for the response, and of course it's already come, so check it out on his channel.
Come on, just Travis already figured it out. He managed to make a video about how he didn't apply for a job.
I know.
He's like, Mark C got the job, but what if the attention was about me, Travis Gafford, instead?
Remember, Monty, like some sort of shitty M. Night Shyamalan twist, 21 minutes into the video, you reveal that, of course, he did actually, colloquially apply behind the scenes. Even though the premise of the video is he didn't apply.
Content. Well, subscribe to the
channel. World
or,
response is
be a pleb and don't.
What a world.